You are definitely going to want to see at the absolute best Breeders' Cup seminar in the game, bar none. We are going to try and come out of the gate running, but more importantly, finish like the fastest car in the race. If things work out, we'll be shopping for Cartier diamonds. Nobody does it better. Tracking trips at Past the Wire, no matter what your level of play is. You know, people play the horses for all types of reasons. The action, the excitement, the thrill, the challenge. Some, believe it or not, even play expecting to lose. Me, I don't have that problem. I play to win and take down scores and have been doing it successfully for a long time. This is the life I've chosen. Don't go into battle alone. I do that. And you can have me and Tracking Trips as your second set of eyes. You can be a better. Let's win this fight. Patience, discipline, like a cobra, ready to strike at the right time. When we win, we celebrate, and we celebrate hard because the rewards make all of it worth it. Nobody does it better. Tracking Trips at Past the Wire. Be a member, unless of course you hate money.
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Knowledge, it ain't free. You gotta pay attention.
Hey, what do you say to everybody? Gio Seti here. 1 month from today will be the night before Juvenile Friday, or as many people like to call it, Future Stars Friday for the 2024 Breeders' Cup. And then, of course, the day after will be Super Saturday or Breeders' Cup Saturday, whichever you want to call it. So I figured I'd do a segment on how somebody like myself, who's been handicapping the Breeders' Cup full card, both the Juvenile Friday and the full Saturday, since 1984, since the very first year. A little history about the Breeders' Cup. You could go and look it up, of course. The Breeders' Cup all got started in 1984 at the old Hollywood Park. Obviously, in recent years, they've been providing the big event on the West Coast. This year at Del Mar will be the fourth time they're racing the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar, and I believe they already have it scheduled for 2025. Santa Anita and Churchill have hosted it the most. Santa Anita 11 times and Churchill 9. They even ran it locally here in New York, New Jersey area a number of times. Belmont 4 times. They ran it at Monmouth once. I was there. I attended once at Belmont as well. Aqueduct back in 1985, the second year, and Keeneland a few times. So now that we have the history aside, just want to remind you guys that I've been doing this since 1984, and I'm going to share a lot of what I give you, pearls if you will, as to how I approach it. And it all begins right about now, 1 month in advance. And what I like to do is I like to separate the 2 days, because Future Stars Friday or Juvenile Friday, typically races 6 through 10 on the card. That's going to build a significant amount of capital if you plan on being successful like I am for the Saturday card. I will also share that the Breeders' Cup is what it is, and it's an event where I take part in all 14 races. That means I am going to not only handicap, a thorough handicap, and I'm going to tell you how I go through my process even a month out leading up to the big days, but I'm going to bet them. I'm going to wager them. Now, I don't wager the exact same amount on all the races, but I will have action on all 14 races, and I'll probably most likely play a multi-race wager like a pick 5 on Juvenile Friday and on Super Saturday. But of course, when I've completed my handicap, there'll be some horses, especially on the win end, who I'm going to make a very robust wager on. And make no mistakes, as I go through my handicap, soup to nuts, I am going to play my win, I am going to play my cold exacta, I am going to play my top 3 in a triple, and my top 4 slated in the superfecta. Because if I'm precise, I'm going to get paid by default in those sequences. Now, of course, based on odds on the board and the fact that I am a kappa who goes very deep, if it's a 13 or 14 horse field, I'm probably going to go 6 or 7 deep in my precise order, so I know I have leverage and horses to work with underneath my top choices. And I'll get into that in a little bit. So, some pearls for you. I know you guys know the obvious, but since it's at Del Mar, you need to know Del Mar. You need to know how the turf course works. The first turn, the back stretch, the far turn, and so on. You need to know the oval and the turf course. You need to know your distances really well. Remember, one of the things that's uniform throughout the 14 races, okay? Every horse has demonstrated ability. In terms of the juveniles on Friday, which we'll start at now, they have limited races because they're in their initial juvenile campaign. So it's important that you recognize the campaign and watch every one of the races that he or she has run. Obviously, all the other contributing factors are important as well, but your eyes, what you see, at least I know what I see when I study those races, and that's why you have to start a month in advance like this. You study the races and you recognize just everything that he or she has demonstrated, whether it's the behavior at the gate, whether it's how they are in a specific post position. Remember, you're doing this without morning lines, without post positions, because through your process, at least I'm telling you what I do through my process, you're going to position yourself with anticipation, like a catcher's mitt, waiting for the post position draws. So you've already made a considerable amount of notations based on what your eyes saw in race review. Now, with that said, remember, all the horses entered have demonstrated ability. That's why they're at the Breeders' Cup. However, some have demonstrated good to very good ability. Some have shown flares of the spectacular. Some have shown to be already elite. And this is both on a Juvenile Friday and even more so on Super Saturday, the 9 races that come on Saturday for the much older horses and much more seasoned horses. But with that said, for Juvenile, one of the things to keep in mind, and this is throughout the Breeders' Cup weekend, Europeans, obviously, for all the years, and we're talking 40 years now, have made their presence felt at the Breeders' Cup. So obviously, as a handicapper, as you dig down deep and watch the races and look at the figures and look at the horse's behavior. You have to include the Europeans, extremely important. So the way I approach juvenile day, when I've done all my race review, okay, and by the way, there's many platforms available on the internet. I'd be taking too much of your time if I shared them all, but you'll find your way to who the leading contenders are for all the divisions, juvenile and the older horses. So do your homework, go online and watch the races. The horses that ran here in the United States and all the Europeans and even the horses in Japan. Get your hands on the races and watch the race reviews. That's what I do. I study them. All right. And that's, I'm giving you pearls here. It's a must. Okay. So after I've done all the horses that I anticipate, now I create scenarios and notes where I'm anticipating them getting a specific draw that's going to entice me or make me more enamored towards the horse. And if I get the draw, then I'm going to set, in my opinion, what the morning line should be after they draw the post positions. But so much is done in advance, okay? So the key here is to be successful, very successful, certainly in the profit, on Juvenile Friday, typically races 6 through 10, so you'll have a pick 5 or 5 individual races. The greater your success on Juvenile Friday will position you for greater success for the big Super Saturday 9 Breeders' Cup races. Now, let's turn the page to, I'm sure you got a flavor of what I'm sharing. Remember, Handicap 101, very instrumental. The jockeys, know your jockeys, know their strong points, know their weaker points. Don't just go by what their record is. And I know you know who the top 4 or 5 jockeys are, at least in my book you should, but know all the jockeys that will get mounts on Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday. Know your connections, know how they work, recognize the workouts. Now remember, I'm doing this a month in advance, so I know inevitably there are going to be works 2 weeks or a week out from Breeders' Cup Friday and Breeders' Cup Saturday, but it all starts now. Juveniles recognize their campaign, how they've gone through their first juvenile year, which led them to their opportunity at the Breeders' Cup. In terms of the older horses, the 3-year-olds, the 4-year-olds, the 5-year-olds, the 6-year-olds, and 7-year-olds, those fillies and mares that run in the turf races, again, see where they did their best running. Was it the track? Was it the post position? Was it a little of both? Who was on them? All right. How have they demonstrated their ability over the last couple of years? But you know something? If there's a mare that's 6 years old, every one of her races matters. So you have to go and do your work. At least I'm telling you, that's what I do. Do my work. I look at every race they run in their career because I may find a nugget. I may find a specific circumstance or behavioral movement or certain in their strides that they could come back to. Obviously, recent form in a form cycle is important, but it's not everything, okay? Some horses are, they favor a certain post position or a track, all right? Breeders' Cup's been, on the West Coast for a few years now. They don't necessarily need to have a race at Del Mar or on the West Coast, but I guess you know where I'm getting at. One of the things to keep in mind is the full campaign. And I'm a big believer in terms of Breeders' Cup Grade 1 level, horses have all demonstrated ability, but you shouldn't ask a horse to do something and outfinish horses doing something that he or she has never done before. That's a tough ask, unless the circumstances are pristine, all right? You want to like horses, at least I know, who have a nose for the wire, who have demonstrated that tenacity and those guts to, and then race review, you see them running inside or outside, or how they behave with an inside post. How are they around the first turn? Do they demonstrate the tactical speed you need to compete in the race? I tell you, there's a lot of factors. There's a myriad of factors to consider when doing your handicap. After all that race review, And remember, never disrespect the Europeans or the connections that come to the Breeders' Cup, because obviously they've been very successful over the years, and their considerations always at a high level, especially all those races on the weeds. But I was talking a little more about the big day on Saturday. Every race is important. I'm going to be playing all 14 races. But on that big day, you should be able to structure your tickets knowing with anticipation. Remember that catcher's mitt. Think about the catcher's mitt. Waiting on that post position draw and waiting on those morning lines. Because you know what? After I get the draw, I'm going to set my morning lines. The most important morning line is the one that I set. You guys may get a flavor of it on those race days, but my point I'm making, you have to do it for yourself as a handicapper. It'll actually teach you and show you where you stand these days, okay? But what I would like, a perfect scenario, is for me to do all my work. And by the way, when I say work, it's my goal to outwork everybody. We're in a game where we're facing other prognosticators and handicappers. You know what? On Breeders' Cup, Friday and Saturday, yeah, there's a ton of recreational money. You get all the Sally and Joes and the people guzzling beers at the track and this, that, and the other thing, simulcasting centers. Hey, let them all in. I want that. I want the recreational money. Because you know something? I know by default, because of the work I put into, I'm going to position myself for greater success. Now, the other cappers out there, some of you follow me. Some of you follow others. You know something? Take it all in. Take as much in as possible for you to make the very best informed decision for yourself. That's got to be your approach, okay? It's not about, oh, I'm going to play the top two favorites in the race. You could take a shot. Sometimes it'll chalk out like that. But if I love the favorite and I like the horse that's second favorite, that's going to be my cold exacta. You know, I don't let anybody sway me one way or another. Now, if you're not seasoned enough and you're a new handicapper and you just don't have the time to put the work in, then you want to approach somebody like myself to absorb and gather as many benefiting pearls as you can so you can make a more informed decision for yourself. I don't have to worry about anybody else but myself. But sometimes when I know there's an intelligent capper who I have great respect for, they'll make a point or two or three that I could have missed. And now I'm gaining something. Preparation, outwork people. When you do that, and if you come into Juvenile Friday and Juvenile Saturday with no work, and you just got the post positions on Wednesday night before, and you're just going by, you're taking a look at the morning lines, you're saying, okay, that's the morning line is made, that's who I figure has the best chance of winning. Not the way to do things, but you could give it a shot. Take it from a guy that's been doing this since 1984. You know? You grow through what you go through. Some things come with experience. Okay? So with that said, I'm going to let you guys go. We have a whole month to work with. Just wanted to give you a flavor. Stay tuned for more shows on Past the Wire TV. You'll hear some things from my colleagues as well. But I'm hoping you got something out of what I'm sharing with you. You're not successful with the Breeders' Cup or at the Breeders' Cup. And by the way, my body of work speaks for itself. People that are very close to me know that I've had some Breeders' Cups that I absolutely slayed. I'm talking about 9 winners in the 14 races. Or I had 4 winners and 6 of my horses who I thought are good contenders ran second. And especially in this bet, which is a very instrumental bet, the triple key or the superfecta key, where I lean on my top choice and 4 of my horses underneath are at a robust price. So now I'm slamming a superfecta key, and on Breeders' Cup Day, they all pay well because, for obvious reasons, big fields, quality horses, big prices. All right? So I'll talk to you guys real soon. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have a question for me, you got 4 weeks to ask questions. I promise I'll put the time in to come back to you. What I do on those days, I got to make a decision of how much I share, but at least you'll get some quality pearls from Mr. Setti beforehand. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you at the races, and let's go get them.
I landed on the 6, Zeitlos. Getting back to her preferred distance, seemed like she was really coming into her own throughout the spring. She's still kind of improving, and I'm hoping that she recaptures some of that form we saw earlier in the year.
Zeitlos tries to pick up the chase. She's down toward the inside, looks for a little more running room.
I too landed on Zeitlos in this field. Full body of work I like. I felt like he's never been better. It is the daughter of Curlin, but most importantly, Asmussen is coming right back with this gal. I mean, right back.
Here's Zeitlos diving to the inside into the final furlong.
There is a misprint.
What's that?
It says Zeitlos is carrying 120 pounds. I say more like 300, because all three of us are landing on Zeitlos. It's interesting that Christian Torres rode both the Asmussen horses last time, winds up on Clearly Unhinged. He went to Jose for the one I'm guessing he likes a little bit better and looks to be a little bit more reliable.
Zeitlos to win the Thoroughbred Club of America.
I do like horses that go from 6 furlong to a mile 16th. I do like that, especially if they won wire to wire. Now, depends who the trainer is. Can they have them conditioned enough to go that far? Brendan Walsh, he's definitely that type of trainer that could get them there.
East Avenue will prove much the best in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity.
I looked long and hard at the 2 European horses, the 1 and the 2. I don't think either one is I mean, and they're not slouches, either one of them. But I just don't think either one is good enough to beat Carl Spackler in the form that he's in right now.
Carl Spackler in front, and here comes Spirit of St. Louis on the outside.
I'm in agreement with John Stetton. I couldn't get past Carl Spackler. In my opinion, this guy at 4 could be the best turf miler in training.
On the 9, they're projecting that's when that horse really does his running at the end, big time.
But here's the wire. Carl Spackler wins the Coolmore Turf Mile.
Chancer McPatrick wins the Champagne.
Zeitlos to win the Thoroughbred Club of America. At the wire for East Avenue, Gina Romantica, Jose Ortiz.
Race 6, Santa Renita, Mizzy Ann. I don't think they'll beat her with any kind of a decent or halfway decent trip today.
Mizion blows on by and finishes with a flourish.
Jackie's Warrior quickly in front here by 2 lengths. Here comes Jackie's Warrior up the inside to take over the lead from Life is Good. And Jackie's Warrior remains undefeated here at Saratoga, and he wins an unprecedented Grade 1 stakes at the Spa for the 3rd straight season.
And I thought I knew it all until I started reading Past the Wire. You should read it too.
Nobody does it better.